Last week I told you that systemd was adding a birthdate field to its core user database. Since then, my inbox and comment sections have exploded with one specific question. What about Linux Mint? You're asking if the world's most recommended safe haven for Windows refugees is about to hand over your personal data to comply with laws in California and Brazil. One of you even said you're ready to go nuclear boss mode if Mint gives in. Well, I've spent the last 48 hours digging into official developer blogs, the Mint roadmap, and the technical reality of their Ubuntu base. Today, we're finding out if Mint is going to be the wall that protects your privacy, or if they're going to be forced to follow Ubuntu down the path of compliance. We're also looking at the Debian escape hatch. Is LMDE the secret weapon we've all been waiting for? If you care about keeping your Linux experience anonymous and surveillance free, you need to know what's coming in the next LTS. Let's get into the truth about Linux Mint, systemd, and your privacy. Linux Mint being based on Ubuntu means it uses Ubuntu as its upstream base. It pulls packages, security updates, the kernel, and core system components directly from Ubuntu's repositories. This gives Mint strong software compatibility, timely updates, and a more polished experience without Mint having to maintain everything from scratch. However, it also creates dependencies. Mint inherits whatever changes Canonical makes to the base system. That's Ubuntu's company. If Canonical eventually adds age verification code to core packages, installers, or systemd integration, Mint will inherit it by default unless the Mint team actively patches it out, which they've done for other controversial Ubuntu features. This creates extra work for Mint's small volunteer team. In affected regions, California for one, Mint users could face restricted app/web experiences if Mint does not provide the age signal. On the bright side, Mint's team often customizes or removes Ubuntu-specific elements they dislike. For example, snap confinement drama, some telemetry, or advertising. But this requires ongoing maintenance work. This is a possible light at the end of the tunnel. If Ubuntu decides to implement age verification measures, it wouldn't be totally out of line to consider that the Linux Mint team, via Lefebvre, might purposefully decide not to include them. No Mint developer, including project leader Clement Lefebvre, Clem, has posted an official stance in those threads or elsewhere. One forum post explicitly asked if Clem had commented yet, with no affirmative response. This is an ongoing and dynamic situation, so stay up to date by subscribing to my channel and watching the Linux forums for more information on this in the future. Mint also maintains LMDE, the Linux Mint Debian edition, as an alternative that bypasses Ubuntu entirely and bases directly on Debian for greater independence and long-term stability. Debian's approach so far is cautious and principled. Wait for legal clarity, rather than rushing to comply. There is no commitment to add age verification code, and community sentiment leans heavily against making it a standard or required part of the distribution. Many in the Debian community and related distros expect one of these outcomes: a minimal no-op implementation, if any, keeping everything strictly optional and easy to disable or remove, or, in the extreme, disclaimers that official Debian is not intended for use in jurisdictions requiring strict OS-level compliance, though this is rare for major distros. If the devs at Linux Mint decide to comply with age verification laws explicitly, or decide to just let them flow downstream from Ubuntu, LMDE could be a likely alternative to the Ubuntu-based version. The comments section from my recent videos on age verification have been nothing short of white hot. One viewer says, "I swear to God, if the age verification nonsense invades Linux Mint, I'm going to go nuclear boss mode. Will I have to? I don't want to know what nuclear boss mode means." Another says, "I'm on Linux Mint, we'll stay there, however, we'll look into migrating from systemd. Is that even possible on Mint?" It's obvious this has been a pretty hot topic in the Linux community these last few weeks, and for good reason. Linux is supposed to be a way out, a safe haven, a place that computer users can go to that won't sell their data, track them, or force upon them anything that they don't have a say in. Being Ubuntu-based gives Mint huge practical advantages in software and updates, but it also ties it to Canonical's decisions on politically charged issues like this. Right now, there is no forced implementation in Mint or Ubuntu, and the FOSS community, including Mint users, is largely resistant. The situation is still evolving. Distros are debating minimal local APIs versus outright refusal. Some smaller projects are already creating ageless Linux forks/scripts that strip any such features. These OS age verification laws are against everything that Linux is supposed to be about. Linux is about freedom and choice, and this has the potential to undermine all of that in one fell swoop. What do you think? Has your favorite distro succumbed to age verification laws? If Linux Mint and Ubuntu implement this, Will you be distro hopping? And where will you go? Let me know in the comments. Turn on the bell to get notified and stay updated as I closely follow this topic in future videos. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.